Welcome to the Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast. My name is Frank. I'm the host of the show. On this podcast, I discuss movies new and old. On today's episode, I'm going to be discussing the latest Ryan Coogler film, Sinners. But before I do, a little housekeeping. You can listen to this podcast wherever you get your podcast. I would ask if you do listen on a podcasting platform, if you could subscribe and rate and review. That'll help increase the profile of the show for anybody looking for a new movie podcast. You can watch the video version of this podcast on YouTube. If you use YouTube, if you could subscribe to the YouTube channel, trying to increase the subscriber base there, that would be great. And the podcast is also available on the Facebook page, which is Let Me Bend Your Ear, and also on X and Rumble. The video versions are all available there. You can download episodes of the podcast. If you don't use a podcasting app, you can go to the website. I highly recommend you go there if you'd like. That is letmebendyourear.com. Every episode of the audio podcast is available there. And please check it out. And you can see and browse and see all the episodes all the way back to episode 1. I started this podcast back in 2018, I believe. Yeah. Coming up on the anniversary of the podcast actually next month. So again, on this show, I will discuss and review movies new and old. It's been a minute since I've been on. The previous episode was my review of the latest Mission Impossible movie, so you can check that out wherever you get your podcast. So let's go ahead and discuss the movie Sinners. So Sinners is written and directed by Ryan Coogler. Now, his career has been very interesting. He is a director that started, his first film was Fruitvale Station, starring Michael B. Jordan, who has worked with him in many of his films. He became known for Creed, which was the kind of reboot, not reboot, but a reboot sequel of the Rocky story, with Michael B. Jordan playing Adonis Creed, the son of course, the iconic Apollo Creed, played by Carl Weathers in the original films. And Creed became, I think, really at the time, a surprise hit critically and commercially. And it's a fantastic movie. And Ryan Coogler did a great job uh, handling that legacy property and kind of breathing new life into it with a great Sylvester Stallone performance and, of course, Michael B. Jordan playing Adonis Creed. Then he followed that up by going into the Marvel universe and directing Black Panther, which starred the late Chadwick Boseman, and of course Michael B. Jordan playing the bad guy Killmonger. And of course that became a huge worldwide phenomenon, another fantastic film, and it gathered actually a Best Picture nomination. I think the only Marvel film to date to actually pull that off. So that put him into the stratosphere of in-demand directors. He also directed the second Black Panther film, Wakanda Forever. And from what I've been reading, he is going to be directing Black Panther 3. There's been news, I guess Denzel Washington inadvertently stated that he is going to be in Black Panther 3 in some unknown role. So I think he's working on that. And the other thing he's working on, which I was kind of surprised about, is he is a huge fan of the X-Files. So he is actually working on a reboot of the X-Files that he says is going to be his next project. So the next thing down the line from him is going to be the X-Files reboot. And then I would assume after that, Black Panther 3. So he is a young director from Oakland, California. He's been critically acclaimed. He's extremely talented. He's definitely a talented filmmaker, and the films of his I've seen, I've enjoyed very much. And when Sinners came out a few months back, I know the critical acclaim is pretty much universal about the film. So I was very much looking forward to seeing it. And I'm finally glad I've got the opportunity to see it and discuss it on the show today. So the film is set in 1932 in Mississippi. So as the movie opens, you have twin brothers, Smoke and Stack Moore. They're played by Michael B. Jordan. He plays both roles. Now, Smoke is kind of the more intense brother of the two. He is no nonsense, whereas Stack is kind of more free spirited, kind of, I want to say, more laid back of the two brothers. But of course, they're very close and they love each other. So as the film opens, they have come back to where they grew up in Mississippi. They had been in World War I as soldiers fighting, and then they were living and working in Chicago. So early in the film, it's made quite clear that the brothers were working in the criminal business with Al Capone. Of course, Al Capone at that time was uh, the Chicago gangland boss. Obviously, you know, well known films, the television series The Untouchables, the film The Untouchables, and obviously his notoriety and infamy as the gangster leader of Chicago. So when they come back to Mississippi, they have money to spend with the intention of opening a juke joint in their hometown to service the black residents there in their hometown and run that business. So that's the setup for Sinners. And the first hour of the movie, which I liked a lot. It really sets up the two characters, the brothers, the people that they knew growing up. They recruit their cousin to play the guitar there. He's a very good guitar player. A guitar was given to them by the brothers, and they recruit him to play at the juke joint. And they also recruit a pianist played by the great actor Delroy Lindo. He's fantastic as always. And then we meet other characters in the film. You have Haley Steinfeld as Mary, who was Stack's girlfriend back in Chicago. He left her there, and she comes looking for him, very angry that he kind of just dumped her and left. And there is a close connection between her and Stack. And of course, also her mother took care of the brothers while they were up in Chicago. So there's a very close association there between both the brothers, but of course, especially with Stack. They also recruit a Chinese couple that work in the city to get the food for the juke joint. They recruit a friend of theirs that's working in the cotton fields to come be the bouncer. So the first hour of the film is kind of setting up how they plan to get this going. Obviously, with the film being set in 1932, you still have the presence of obviously Jim Crow South. The Klan is, obviously active. It's funny, the brothers buy the property that they're going to put the juke joint on from someone there. And basically the brothers say if there's any Klansman or anyone that steps on their property, they're going to kill them. And of course, the guy selling him says, "Oh, no, 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 no. There's going to be no problems. There's no Klan here anymore," which of course they don't believe, and I don't think anybody in the audience would believe either. Obviously, in the time it takes place, and the composer of the movie that did the score was Louis Goranson, which I noticed. Apparently, he's worked on several Coogler movies, and he's actually also a frequent collaborator with Christopher Nolan. And I've heard and I've seen Coogler's interviews when he talks about Nolan and his friendship with Nolan and his admiration for his work. And then obviously, they use the same composer. And when you see the film, I watched Sinners obviously at home on Max. You can see he shot it with IMAX camera, so he didn't shoot the entire film in IMAX. I know Christopher Nolan's Odyssey is going to be shot in IMAX entirely, as opposed to some scenes. So in Sinners, you'll see the scenes; they'll be full screen that they shot with the IMAX cameras. I'm sure the movie looked beautiful to watch in IMAX. The film is shot beautifully. The music is great. The acting is great all the way around. So as I stated, the first hour of the film sets everything up for the logistics of opening the juke joint. So the other part of the plot that you see is you have a Irishman that knocks on the door of a couple in Mississippi. His name is Remick. He tells them that he's being chased by Native Americans that are trying to kill him. And you can see that the couple are members of the Klan. They let him in. And it turns out that Remick is a vampire. And it turns out the Choctaw Indians were hunting vampires and hunting him specifically. So he turns the couple once he's in the house, and then obviously you start to get the lore, the vampire lore. If you've watched any vampire movies, and I've watched Nosferatu earlier this year, you get to see kind of the lore of the things that you know from all the tropes from vampire films. So obviously, one of them is you have to invite them in. They cannot come into your house on their own. They have to be invited in, and then of course once they're invited in, all hell breaks loose, as you know if you've watched any kind of vampire movie. So you get that slice of the story in the first hour, and then we get to the climax of the first part of the movie when they finally get the juke joint opened. So they open, it's opening night. They open the place. People are coming in. Their cousin's playing the guitar. Delta Slim's playing the piano. And what we have is Remick hears the music, and him and the couple that he turns comes to the juke joint and wants to come in. They playing guitar, singing a song. Smoke and Stack come to the door. They're like, "Hey, can we come in? We got money to spend, and we want to play music, and we love your music, and we want to play here with you guys." So, of course, Smoke and Stack are suspicious for a bunch of reasons. One, obviously, that they're white. They could go to any place in town. Why are they coming here? And then, of course, what the movie goes into detail is obviously there's a great interaction between the brothers and the other people saying, "Hey, look, we invite them in. Somebody steps on this guy's foot." So obviously, in the time of 30s Mississippi, if anything happens to a white person in a black establishment, obviously they understand that all hell would break loose. So eventually, they deny them entry. So they kind of just go on their way, and they're playing music in the club. Everybody's having a great time, and then the movie. At this point in the movie is where the story shifts. So that first hour is set up, which is fantastic. Goes into the rest of the movie, which, if you read any of the reviews or know anything about the previews, it becomes a vampire film. So of course, what happens is the Remick and the other two, they find a way to get in, and I won't get into that, so I won't spoil it. So you can watch the movie. So obviously they get in, and then, as I stated earlier, all hell breaks loose, and it becomes a battle between the people in the club and the vampires. And at this point, it becomes a straightforward horror movie with figuring out how they're going to get, who's going to survive, who's going to be turned, and what happens. So I don't want to get too much into that part of it, because again, I don't want to give away the second part of the film. So you can watch it on your own and make your own judgment on that. But like I said, going back, the first hour of Sinners is really good. I love the setup. It was funny because I watched this movie late at night, so I was concerned because the movie clocks in at 2 hours and 18 minutes. So I was concerned, not because of the movie, but because of how late I was watching it, that I was going to get tired and either fall asleep, not from boredom, from being tired, or I would have to stop it and watch the second part. The first hour of it was so engaging that that wasn't even an issue. I was completely enthralled with the story, with the acting, with the direction, with the way it went. So that concern was alleviated, and I stayed up through the entire movie and was wide awake when the movie was over. So that was fantastic. But again, that first hour, setting up the characters, setting up their backstory, um, their relationships to the people in the town that they recruit to work in the juke joint, their histories together are all fleshed out in that first hour, and it's done in an interesting way. And obviously, with the other story going on with Remick turning the couple into vampires, something is coming down the pike that's not going to be good. So again, that first hour is really fantastic. And now the second hour of the film is great as well. So when it becomes basically a straight up horror film, the ways that the other vampire tropes come into effect, of course, stake through the heart, garlic, can't let them in, as I stated earlier. So all those things are incorporated into this vampire movie. And what I liked about the film, or what I liked a lot about the film, is the setting is great. A lot of vampire movies are set in the past, a lot of times because, of course, vampires are immortal. But I think here, what Coogler was trying to do, and I've heard some criticism about Sinners being, I don't know, you know, I don't know. I don't agree with any of these. I love the fact that it's set in 1930s Mississippi. It adds some, tension that would not otherwise be there. Obviously, in the South in the 30s, you know, the situation between whites and blacks in that time is already inherent with tension, and now you introduce the vampires into it, and it just ratchets it up even more. So I love the story. As I said, the first hour of Sinners is really, really fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it. And when you get, when it gets to the part with the vampires and the attack and the climax of the movie, again, all really done fantastic. And it goes to the climax, and then the end of the film is very good. The whole movie is fantastic. So, in movies that I've seen, in the last couple of years that have had critical acclaim, a lot of the movies that have had that and then I end up watching, I have not been as enamored of the film as the critics are. In this case with Sinners, that's not the case at all. This movie is fantastic. It's really one of the best movies I've seen in quite a long time. It's supremely entertaining, and it's really solidified, I think, Ryan Coogler's stature as a world class filmmaker. I think he's basically, with the few films under his belt, all of them being very good, this one being no exception. It's and the other thing that I love about it, and I've preached it on this podcast, I don't know how long, is the lack of original films that are not sequels to something else. And I think a lot of people really fell in love with this movie because of that. And I'm not an exception. But the thing that's great is this movie is fantastic, and I highly recommend it. It is entertaining. If you like the horror genre, it's very good. It's just a fantastic original film. And the thing that I also love about this movie is it's done fantastic, tremendous box office. And hopefully, and why I'm happy about that is because one, the movie is fantastic. Two, hopefully we'll get the audiences to come back to movies that are original and not sequels. Not just, like I said, and I've said it a million times on this show, I have no issue with Superman, comic book movies, sequels to movies that are well done. I am not anti that. But it's more that I'm pro the rare instance of an original film that's not a sequel to anything doing well, both commercially and critically. And it's very important for those movies to do well. And like I said, I've reviewed movies in the past. A couple of examples. I'll use Nolan and Tarantino as examples. If you go back and listen to my reviews of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Tenet, which I gave medium reviews. I definitely didn't like them as much as critics did. But in both those reviews, I said I love the fact that you have those kind of filmmakers, Tarantino, Nolan, now Ryan Coogler, that are making original films with original stories that are not sequels to anything, that stand on their own as great movies. Because we are desperately missing those type of films in the theaters. You have streaming services, you have all that stuff. And again, I have no issue with that. I watched Sinners on Max because I couldn't get to the theater. Like I said, and I've said that before too. The value of streaming services, to me, as someone that reviews movies and talks about movies, has been very important to me because it's allowed me to see movies that I may not never get to see or not see for a very long time. But for me, the movie theater going experience, no matter how frequently or infrequently I go, is still super important to me. And I am very, very happy that Sinners was a success. One, because it's a great movie, and two, because it'll hopefully help that along where we get to see original movies. Because, the movie business is a business. They're going to see these movies do well, they're going to make more of them. If they don't do well, they're not going to make more of them. So the more of these that work, that are really good, and people go out to see them, it shows the distributors, and it shows the movie companies that if they put out good product, People will go see it. People will go see it. And I'm glad Sinners is proving that to be the case. So again, I am a huge fan of this movie. I loved it. Like I said, kudos to Ryan Coogler. He wrote and directed the film. So the story is his. The acting, of course, Michael B. Jordan is a fantastic actor, and he's great in both of these roles. And you can see him with the personality differences between each brother, and the effects of using them both in the same scenes is fantastic. It's seamless. It's like it's two different actors, and it looks like they're actually twins. But of course, we know Michael B. Jordan is playing both the characters. But it's fantastic. Haley Steinfeld's great. Delroy Lindo's always great. The entire cast is fantastic. And like I said, the movie is entertaining. And that's the biggest thing. It's an entertaining story. I loved it from beginning to end. I would definitely watch it again. And it is one of the best movies I've seen in quite a long time. So I really am a big fan of Sinners. So based on that, I'm going to go ahead and give Sinners, I'm going to give it 4.5 stars out of 5. It was really, really, really good. So on that scale, I highly recommend the movie. It's being touted as one of the best films of the year. I don't disagree. I think it's the best film I've seen in a long time. And this is the highest review I've given. Now, granted, my podcasts have been infrequent, but hopefully I'll pick it back up. I keep saying that, but then it doesn't happen. But this is one of the best films I've seen in quite a long time. And I was supremely entertained by it. Ryan, like I said, Ryan Coogler is definitely a force to be reckoned with. And I look forward to seeing whatever his next project will be in the theaters. And I think it's really going to be a fantastic future for him in making films if it's anything like Sinners. So again, I am going to give Sinners 4.5 stars out of 5. So again, I highly recommend it. Like I said, I will be seeing it again. I think it's even still in theaters now. But if you're going to want to watch it at home, it's streaming on Max. I think it's going to be available in a couple of weeks in physical media, DVD, Blu-ray, and all of that. So I highly recommend it. It is a fantastic movie. If you're a fan of vampire movies, it's great. It is just a entertaining 2 hours, and I think you'll really enjoy it. And like I said, I'll be looking forward to watching it again. So again, Sinners, I'm giving 4.5 stars out of 5. So before I sign off, again, if you if you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, please do that. We're trying to raise the subscription numbers there. Also, if you listen to the podcast, wherever you listen to it, if you can rate and review and subscribe, that would be great. Trying to increase the following of the show. And if you want to email the show with any suggestions, the email is bendyourearpodcast@gmail.com. And again, please go to the website. It's letmebendyourear.com. Every single episode from episode 1 to now is available there. So please check it out. I'd appreciate it. If you want to donate and help the show financially, that'll be great. You can go to my X page, which is Bend Your Ear Pod, and click on the chip jar there. The two things any proceeds will go for is to pay for the streaming software and really to get me to the movies, because I'm not a big critic. I don't get free passes to go to movies. So it comes out of my pocket. So if you could do that, that would be great. So again, I'm going to end the show. I've got Sinners by Ryan Coogler, 4.5 stars out of 5. So highly recommend it. Check it out if you can. And I will be back very soon with a new episode. I am going to be watching Superman this weekend, so I will have a show with a review of that. I may have a guest with me for that review, but I am planning on watching Superman this weekend. Actually, I already got my tickets, so I know there's been a lot of, and let me say this now as a teaser for that episode. If you're looking for, is this better than Snyder's version, Men of Steel? I'm not going to get into all of that. I haven't even reviewed those films for the podcast. Those movies came out before I started this podcast. I talked about Justice League, I believe. I don't know if I have an episode on the Snyder Cut of Justice League. I'm not sure. I may or may not have to go back on that. But when it comes to this stuff, I'm going to go see the movie and I'm going to review the movie. Is the movie good? Is the movie bad? Is the movie mediocre? That's going to be the only take you're going to get from me. If you're looking for, how it compares to the other ones. I mean, other than maybe a passing comment about that, it is not going to be a referendum on whether they should have continued with Henry Cavill. I'm not going to get into all that. Now, the guest we may have that in-depth conversation, because this particular guest is a huge fan of the the Snyder films in the DCU, but also is super excited about this new Superman. So he is a fan of the character. So that conversation, even if we go down that road, if he comes on the show, will really be just discussing it in passing about that film and then this film that's coming out on Friday. But again, I'm not into all that. I think all that's a bunch of nonsense. If people love the Snyder films, that's great. If they love the new one, that's great. If they love both, I'm going to look at the film on its own. Is it good? Is it not good? And then that'll be my take on it. All right, so that'll be coming hopefully this weekend after I watch the film. So again, please feel free to follow the show. I would appreciate it. You can email at bendyourearpodcast@gmail.com. I want to thank everybody for listening and watching. I really appreciate it. And again, Sinners, written and directed by Ryan Coogler.